can have in Waterbury.
At Brave Coffee and Tea, we believe the key to starting your day right is better coffee. Are you drinking brown caffeinated water or something that has been crafted with care and thoughtfulness? Freshly roasted in Waterbury, we have a coffee for every personality, from single origins to original blends. Let us help you start your day. Check our website at bravecoffee.com to see where you can find us, or sign up for a subscription and never worry about running out of coffee again. Brave Coffee, better life.
WDEV believes in airing a wide variety of opinions and perspectives. The views expressed in the following feature do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of WDEV. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to WDEV@radiovermont.com.
And now, here's Eye on the News with commentator John McClory.
In his draft opinion for the abortion rights case, Justice Alito noted among the 29 decisions overturned was the notorious Plessy versus Ferguson that upheld racial segregation on railroad coaches. Another was Adkins versus Children's Hospital that repealed minimum wage requirements for women in the District of Columbia until overturned, and Minersville School District versus Covitas upholding an expulsion of a Jehovah's Witnesses child for refusing to salute the flag. The latter case was decided 8-1 in 1940, but overturned by a vote of 6-3 a mere 3 years later. Those examples raise the question, when should stare decisis justify continuing a ruling in force, and when should a questionable case be overturned in light of changing facts, arguments, and consequences? The justices signing on to Justice Alito's draft opinion have concluded, as have many legal scholars over the years, that Roe v. Wade fell far short of meeting any coherent constitutional standard. That standard is that declaring a previously unenumerated right must be deeply rooted in the nation's history and tradition and implicit in the concept of ordered liberty. That precedent was adopted to circumscribe the creation of new rights by a majority vote of judges playing the role of unelected legislators. This is particularly apposite when pondering the Ninth Amendment that states, the enumeration in this Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. More on this tomorrow. This is John McClory. Thanks for listening.
WDEV also serves the Northeast Kingdom at 101.9 W270BR Island Pond.
211 makes a difference in the lives of thousands of Vermonters each year. Do you need help with a utility bill, housing, food, job training, veteran services, or dealing with an emergency or crisis? Call 211 today or text your zip code to 898-211. Our specialists will help you navigate and connect with resources. Call or text 211 today. Help is available 24/7. Vermont 211, a program of United Ways of Vermont and supported generously by the Agency of Human Services.
The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to WDEV@radiovermont.com.
The teams you care about.
Mac Jones is good. That's not the question. The question is he good enough to win repeatedly in this loaded AFC?
The stories that matter to you.
If I'm Xander Bogaerts, I need three things in order to get over that insulting contract offer.
This is your home for New England sports.
Jason Tatum, superstar. Book it.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show on a Thursday right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Full show tonight all the way up until 7 o'clock. No Red Sox baseball, and then a short dinner jazz or a short jazz with George Thomas. That goes from 7 o'clock until 8 o'clock, and then NBA Finals Game 1. Our coverage begins at 8, Celtics Warriors. First, the tip-off there is at 9 o'clock-ish. I cannot wait for this. This is what we have been waiting for. This should be a great series between the C's and the Warriors. You can get in all show long on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026. Your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville. And You can get in on the brand new Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and also my Twitter account live streams. Also, get your comments in there. Celtics fans, I need to hear from you today.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts of the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center, with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. My gut tells me Golden State wins this series in 6 games. And I'm not trying to be a buzzkill, and I'm not trying to be a wet blanket. I'm just telling you the truth. Right now, today, my gut tells you going into this series, I have to make a prediction. My prediction is Golden State in 6. I could very easily be wrong. I hope that I am wrong, but I am paid to give you my honest opinion, and that is my honest opinion. Warriors in 6. Now, I admit, I very easily could be falling into the trap of just looking at the Warriors' history and their legacy. And I think a lot of people are doing just that. Like, Vegas has the Warriors as the favorite, in part because I think so many people remember the Warriors from 4 to 5 years ago. I think that absolutely could be playing into my feelings here. There's numbers out there and simulations that say that Boston is the better team, that say the Celtics will win. I hope they are right, but I think I and a lot of others are drinking the Kool-Aid on thinking this Warriors team is the old Warriors. I hope that I am wrong. Today, I've got Warriors in 6. Going into the series, I've got Warriors in 6, and I've been right in every series so far. Not in terms of games, but in terms of who would win. I had the Celtics over Brooklyn. I had the Celtics over Milwaukee. I had the Celtics over Miami. I've got Golden State here. I hope this is the one that I am wrong in. I just look at the Warriors, and I just think there's too much depth there. There's too much depth. There's too many options. Steph, Clay, they can score. Wiggins can score. Jordan Poole can score. Kuminga can score. Otto Porter, Gary Payton II, Kevon Looney. There's just more bodies that they can throw at you, I think. More guys that can touch the court. The Celtics are very good and very talented, but they've basically gone to a 7-man rotation in the playoffs, and they're battling injuries. So my gut tells me not necessarily that the Warriors are so much better than the Celtics, but just that they're kind of going to outlast and outcondition the Celtics here. That's kind of where I'm at. I think the Warriors win this series mainly out of a battle of attrition and less about just, the Warriors are flat out better. I'm not sure the Warriors are flat out better. The stats tell you that Boston is the better team. The data tells you Boston. Vegas tells you Golden State. That's why this could be a really fun and interesting series. But I just think that Golden State is healthier. They have more bodies, and they're better rested. That is why I think the Warriors win this series. I hope that I'm wrong. One thing that I found interesting in doing my research on this that we don't really realize going into this series is that, the whole focus is on the Celtics defense and the Warriors offense. But did you know the Warriors defense is actually the second best defense in the league this year, and the Celtics offense actually ranked better than Golden State's? So we're all looking at Golden State's offense versus the Celtics defense when we should be looking also at the other way. Can the Celtics score with their good offense on Golden State's good defense? It will be a fascinating series. I think both of these teams have top-end talent. I think both have extremely high levels of motivation, which we're going to get to. I think both have the ability to adjust. And I think that both teams can win any type of game. Last series, I didn't think that Miami could win a shootout. In this series, I could see either of these teams playing in any facet, like any kind of game. If this is 117 to 114, I could see both teams winning. If this is 91 to 89, I could see both teams winning. We will see what happens. Warriors in 6 is my prediction. What is yours? Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury, text line 802-585-3026. Drop your questions, your comments, your predictions on the text line. Unnamed texter, do you think that the Celtics playoff run has affected the Red Sox? Yes, it's bought the Red Sox some time from the fans. 100%. There are a lot of fans that are all in on the Celtics and aren't paying a whole lot of attention to the Red Sox yet. And the minute this Celtics season is over, they're all going to go back and start calling for Chaim Bloom's head again. So, yes, the Celtics have distracted a lot of people from the Red Sox misery so far this season. And the Red Sox now hanging around 500. You look at the record and you say, okay, it's not that bad if we make a little run here. So a lot of people who have been kind of ignoring look at the record and like, okay, it's okay. It's not that bad. When the season ends, they're going to start watching. And if it continues like this, they're going to realize just how bad it is. Marcus in St. Albans. Can't wait to watch tonight. Who do you think is the most important player for the Celtics in this series? Marcus Smart. The Celtics need Marcus Smart. I know he's not their best player on the roster, but I think in this series and in these scenarios, I think he is incredibly valuable to what they do. He's had games where he's scored 20-plus points and the Celtics have needed it. They could use that here. We can't count on that, but they could certainly use his scoring ability. But they need him as a ball handler. They need him as a playmaker. They need him as a defender. They cannot afford to lose him to injury, foul trouble, or poor play. I mean, there's a lot of perimeter options for this Warrior team. Steph, Clay, Poole, Wiggins. Marcus Smart has to be available to guard on the perimeter. And then offensively, he's got to be the guy that gets them in good sets. Jason Tatum's going to have a lot to do. He cannot have to be the primary ball handler, right? Like, Luka is an incredible player. Incredible for Dallas. You saw how gassed he was with the Mavericks in that series against Golden State because he had to do everything, right? You have to play defense, you have to score 30, and you have to carry the load in the ball handling department. Jason Tatum's not going to be able to do that and the Celtics be able to win. They're going to suffer the same fate as Dallas did if that is what happens here. It can't be what happens here. Marcus Smart has to be there to lighten the load. Play defense on their perimeter stars, on their perimeter depth, and keep the ball out of Tatum's hands at all times and allow him to go and move without the ball and put himself in good positions. Tatum can't be forced to create everything for himself. Lakin in Orwell, do you think rust can be a factor for Golden State in Game 1? I think rust can always be a factor. Like when you've had a decent amount of time off, I think rust is always possible. I always put it as a possibility. We saw what happened to Tampa last night in the NHL playoffs, right? 9 days off, I think they had. They got smoked in the second and third period by the Rangers. So rust is always a possibility, but for some reason, I don't think it's going to be a factor tonight for Golden State. I wish it would, but I don't think it is. I think Golden State is a pretty well-oiled machine. Like, they've been there. They know how to prepare. They know how to handle, lengthier delays. They've dealt with pretty much every scenario you can deal with, and I think they're equipped to handle it. Steph, Clay, Draymond, Iguodala, Kerr, there's enough experience there. I think they know, how to handle that. I think the first part of this game will be filled with a lot of adrenaline and emotion. I think it will be frenetic. So it could be ugly, but I wouldn't take that ugliness as rust. I think there's going to be a frenetic pace at the beginning. Then I think it will settle down. Don't take ugly for rusty. I just think that is going to be two teams that are excited to be in the NBA Finals. And Steve Kerr he did say this also.
2 games we played this year are almost meaningless in terms of this matchup because so many players were out. And I think Boston's a different team now than they were when we faced them. We don't know them that well. They don't know us that well. There will definitely be a kind of a feeling out process.
Yeah, so a feeling out process, again, could be ugly at times, but I don't think there's going to be rust. I think these teams are going to be ready. My biggest question is, will the Celtics have had enough time to get healthy? How's Smart's ankle? How's Rob Williams' knee? I think that is a factor, but I don't think rust is going to be a factor. I think these teams are ready to play. Phil says, Brady, you are wrong more than you are right with your predictions. Celtics in 6. Whoa. Wrong more than I'm right, Phil? Did I or did I not have the Patriots last year all season long, from Cam Newton to Mac Jones and whoever else, as an 8-10 win team? Would they win 10 games? Did I or did I not have them getting beat by Buffalo in the playoffs? I did. I was right on the Patriots. Like, I predicted the Patriots a lot. I was dead on with the Patriots all year last year. I was dead on with UVM basketball all year last year. Now, I didn't think that the Red Sox were going to be under 500 at this point. I also said it's not a given that the Red Sox get to the ALCS last year just because the division's really good, I said. They're not a given to get to the playoffs. And what do we know? They're in 4th place. I think I've been pretty good with my predictions here, Phil. I think I've been pretty darn good. So I got the Warriors in 6. I hope that I'm wrong. I would love nothing more than in 2.5 weeks to come back here and be talking about the Celtics hoisting the Larry O'Brien trophy. I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. I'm actively rooting to be wrong. But I get paid to give you my opinion and my predictions. I got the Warriors in 6. I heard Chris Broussard today at Fox Sports 1 say Warriors in 7. I heard Freddie Coleman yesterday say he thinks the Warriors are going to win. So a lot of the media is on the Warriors. The Vegas public is on the Warriors. The betting public is on Golden State. A lot of the data thinks Boston's going to win. I hope that that's the case. I hope that it is. But depth and scoring ability, I think, is what gives Golden State the edge. I think Marcus Smart is absolutely huge. We're going to need to see Marcus Smart be available and be good in this series that the Celtics are going to have a chance to win. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Red Sox are off today. You will hear from Buster Olney, though, next. I taped with Buster earlier in the day. You're going to hear a portion of that interview next. What does he think about the Matt Barnes saga for the Red Sox? I said the other day I feel bad for him. Have we ever seen somebody just lose it completely quite like this? Buster Olney. You'll hear from him next on DEV.
Jameson Insurance is an independent agency serving the WDEV listening area that offers local service from local insurance professionals with national depth and resources. Whether it's home, auto, or business insurance, Jameson's seeks solutions to coverage and pricing questions for you from dozens of coverage sources. When you get a proposal from Jameson, you know that they've done their homework, and you have peace of mind. Reach out to them at JamesonINS.com.
Bluestar Medicated Ointment gets 5-star reviews from our loyal users for fast relief of the pain and itch of almost any skin irritation.
Bluestar soothes insect bites and fungal infections.
It really works on the summer rashes I get every year.
I had psoriasis on my elbows. Bluestar worked wonders.
Amazing stuff. Smear a bit on and the itch is gone.
Look for the white box with the blue star in the first aid section. Feel Bluestar work fast or your money back.
Get Macy's lowest prices of the season and save big on summer style essentials, like 50 to 60% off all designer suits for an effortless touch of cool, 40 to 75% off fine jewelry to complete any look, and get ready to jet set with Tag Ridgefield luggage sets just $74.99. Plus, Macy's Star Rewards members earn on every purchase except gift cards, services, and fees. Sign up for free at Macys.com/Star Rewards. Savings off sale and clearance prices, exclusions apply.
Rise and shine with WDEV Sunday mornings. Begin the day at 6 with Joel Nasman and 2 hours of classical music, followed by the Takeout with Major Garrett. A casual discussion of politics, policy, and pop culture. Then it's Jane Pauley and CBS Sunday Morning with stories about the arts, music, nature, and entertainment. The morning concludes with Sunday Morning Swing Time, an hour of swing tunes. Join us Sunday mornings on WDEV AM and FM and streaming at WDEVradio.com.
Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
All the insight into everything going on in baseball. It's time for our weekly conversation with ESPN baseball insider and Vermont native, Buster Olney.
I'm just about ready to bet the family farm in Vermont.
On the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in. Brady Farkas Show right here on this Thursday on WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Eric Snow is going to join us at 6:30 today. Former NBA point guard, went to 3 separate NBA finals. So Eric Snow is going to be with us, at 6:30. Very excited to talk with him live. Earlier today, I had a chance to speak with our ESPN MLB insider, Buster Olney. The full interview was about 15 minutes long. The full thing is available on the Brady Farkas Show podcast channel on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Talked a lot about the Red Sox, talked about Buster, who made a recent trip to Fenway, which you'll hear a little bit about here. I play you about half of the interview right now. We started out actually talking about the NBA Finals, and I'm fascinated about the Ime Udoka storyline here, the differences between Udoka and Brad Stevens. And there's been a lot made about Ime Udoka and his ability to hold players accountable and call people out, sometimes in the media. And I asked Buster, you've seen a lot of different styles of managers in baseball. How do guys have a personality like Udoka, call people out, hold people accountable without grading on guys?
Yeah, no. And it's why I think that, you need different voices, and one voice doesn't always hold. Joe Madden might be the best example of that. In his first year with the Cubs, I remember talking with a Cubs official, and he said, I've never seen one person make so much of a difference in that job as manager. And they had a meeting among, staffers, and they all went around the room and said, how many wins has Joe Madden, difference made this year? And the range was from like 3 to 15. And on the other hand, I think by the time that, Joe's tenure with the Cubs ended, I think the players had kind of turned him off. I love the video the other day when the Celtics coach came in after they won that series against the Heat, and he's talking with the players, and he starts talking about, okay, this is not why we're in it. We still have more to do, and the players just dumped water on him. Like, whatever, dude. we love you. We're just going to dump water on you. They were like, we don't want to hear that right now. We want to celebrate.
Buster Olney, ESPN MLB insider, with us every Thursday on the Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Okay, let's talk baseball. Red Sox win yesterday against the Reds, but they're 3-4 right now in this stretch against the Orioles and the Reds, and this is supposed to be the gift portion of their schedule. This inconsistency, Buster, is just maddening, right? They can run through the Astros and the White Sox and Seattle and then go 3-4 against Baltimore and the Reds. The inconsistency is just, it's grating on me.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't blame you. And I guarantee you that there are players in that clubhouse who are just shaking their heads. The game that I saw, it was infield mistakes that was difference making. Devers making a bad throw. Franchi Cordero not knocking down a throw at first base.
Yeah.
That Bogarts made. Bogarts apparently, and I was not in the clubhouse, but I read afterward, he was just disconsolate because he was just frustrated with the fact that they didn't play better. And yes, when you lose to the Orioles, even though they're getting better, and you lose to the Reds, it does feel like a lost opportunity. That all said, some of the players that I spoke to when I was on the field before the game, there is a feeling of, look, the Yankees are having some problems too. Like, there's stuff developing with the other clubs that they feel like there's still time to get back into it. That said, because of the gap that's developed in the schedule, if the Red Sox are going to turn around in 2022, it has to start in the next few weeks. They have to start making progress to keep the front office from doing some kind of a sell-off.
Red Sox bullpen has been one of their biggest issues this year, arguably their biggest issue, and they've just placed Matt Barnes on the injured list. Now, I don't know if he's actually got a shoulder issue or if he's just kind of needs a mental health break, but have you ever seen the wheels fall off as quickly for someone as they have Barnes? Like, this isn't a thing where he's got the yips. It's just all of a sudden he's just become incredibly hittable.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that. I was having a conversation the other day with a big leaguer about confidence. And, we look at major league players as being gods, right? And we assume that they probably walk out of the park feeling great about themselves. I think that's just not true. I think that so many of these guys actually have deep insecurities. I was talking with one of the Reds coaches about it the other day. We were talking about Alex Rodriguez, who's statistically one of the greatest players of all time. As a Mariners fan, someone who had a ton of success, won MVP awards, that sort of thing. And yet, he was also a guy who would walk up to a teammate after a 5-for-5 game with the Rangers and go, "Hey, how does my swing look?" He was like the student in high school who was getting A+ saying, "Boy, I think I should have done better."
Yeah.
And there are a lot of players who are like that. And Matt Barnes strikes me as someone who's going through a crisis of confidence.
I was listening to your colleague, Jeff Passan, yesterday, and he was saying he would never invest big in a bullpen, that bullpens are so fickle that he just wouldn't spend his big resources there. The Red Sox employed that strategy this year. They didn't go after the big ticket names. Do you subscribe to the Jeff Passan theory, or should they have been going after Kenley Jansen or Kendall Graveman or Craig Kimbrell?
I think it's a case-by-case basis, right? Okay. Like for me, Josh Hader, the Brewers, would be someone, and actually I was talking about this with Jake Diekman the other day of the Red Sox. Josh Hader would be someone for me that I would invest big time in because he's been completely dominant. And he's left-handed, and as he's gone along, he's developed a lot of pitches. I think, and I know Mariano Rivera is the greatest reliever of all time, but the Yankees, it might have behooved them at some point to do a long-term deal with him.
Yeah.
They tend to do 2- and 3-year deals, and he was great for a long period of time. I think that Jeff's right, that tends to be an area that's so volatile, where you can be great and you can be terrible. In the first half of 2019, the Nationals statistically had the worst bullpen in baseball, and down the stretch, their bullpen, after they made some upgrades, was phenomenal. And one of those guys, Daniel Hudson, threw the last pitch of the season to win the Nationals the World Series. So with bullpens, you just don't know. The Red Sox look terrible right now in their bullpen. It is the absolute worst problem that they can have. And if you were to tell me that, they turn it around the second half, that wouldn't be a shock.
Buster, Red Sox are heading west now. They're going to take on the A's, the slumping Angels, and then the Mariners. It's a trip that, on paper, the Red Sox could and should do well on, but how grueling is that 3-city, 10-game, 3,000-mile trip on teams?
Look, from the days when I listened to the Red Sox on WDEV, okay, it always felt like that going to the West Coast for the Red Sox was a challenge. And it didn't really matter how good the teams were, but it was a struggle. And if you actually, had a trip where you won a few series or 2 series, you felt great about it for the Red Sox. It's a grind. And, we've seen now, I think, with those 2 recent series against Baltimore and against Cincinnati, Red Sox aren't good enough to take anything for granted. So, yeah, you're facing an Oakland team that stinks, and the Angels are struggling, and they're, finishing up the series against the Yankees, so they might be tired by the time that the Red Sox see them. You know better than I do how disappointing this year's been with the Mariners.
Yeah.
But the Red Sox, you just never know in 22.
Yeah, that was part of my conversation earlier today with ESPN MLB insider Buster Olney. A lot of good stuff there. I encourage you to go listen to the whole thing on our podcast channel. Just look for the Brady Farkas Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and WDEVradio.com. And I thought what you just heard Buster say there was really powerful with regards to Matt Barnes. Because we taped the interview early, we were able to cut it up right away. So listen back to this.
I was having a conversation the other day with a big leaguer about confidence. And, we look at major league players as being gods, right? And we assume that they probably walk out of the park feeling great about themselves. I think that that's just not true. I think that so many of these guys actually have deep insecurities.
I think that's really powerful. And I told you the other day that, yes, Matt Barnes has a ring and Matt Barnes has a good contract, but no amount of money or previous success can cover up the feelings of inadequacy that I'm sure he's feeling right now. It's awful. And I believe, Buster, entirely that, yes, a lot of guys do have deep insecurities. And how could you not? In that profession, how could you not have deep insecurities? Because almost nobody is safe in professional baseball. The rare guy that has a 12-year contract, that guy is safe. Most other guys are playing for their lives either game to game or year to year. Like, look at the Red Sox right now. Do you think that Xander Bogaerts doesn't have a little insecurity? Do they want me? How much do they value me? Why do they not value me enough? I want to be here, but when and what is their next offer going to be? I'd be insecure if I'm Xander Bogaerts. I played here for a decade. I've won multiple World Series here. I'm one of the best hitters. I'm one of the best shortstops in franchise history. This franchise should retire my number, and they very well may kick me to the curb. That would make me insecure. Don't you think that deep down Chris Sale has some insecurities? Like, man, am I ever going to be the same? How am I going to be viewed by fans here forever? Why do I keep falling apart physically? Why does this keep happening to me? And the impending free agents wondering what their situations are going to be like. I think several of these players have to be looking over their shoulders constantly wondering when exactly is their time going to come. Ryan Brazier, I'm sure, is doing it. Barnes is doing it. Sawamura is doing it. Bobby Dahlbeck, I bet, is doing it. Like, you're just wondering, are you one bad outing or one bad game away from being gone and not getting another chance? I love that Buster said it because it's true. Guys are not safe in this sport. They're not safe in general in pro sports very much. Like, look how quickly it can turn for Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, who's the king of Cleveland, gets the Browns to the playoffs and wins a game, and then 12 months later is going to be looking for a job and may have to be a backup. Look how quickly it can end for guys. Look how quickly it can change for guys. So when Buster says, I think these guys are way more insecure than we think they are, I think he's 100% right. And it's part of the reason, again, that I feel awful for Matt Barnes, because with every bad outing, that insecurity only grows deeper. It only grows deeper. I thought it was a really powerful comment there from Buster Olney. Got a very interesting text on Matt Barnes, which we're going to get to on the other side of the CBS News update. But when we come back after the news, we'll answer the text. And I'll tell you the one big worry I have for the Celtics moving into this series. That's next on DEV.
This is WDEV, Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top of Sugarbush, 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield, 96.5 W243 Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, along with our founding station, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury Montpelier, streaming at WDEVradio.com. 90 years of serving Vermont, the friendly pioneer, WDEV.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Peter King in Orlando. President Biden talks to the nation in about an hour and a half about the recent mass shootings and what he thinks Congress should do in terms of gun legislation. White House spokeswoman Karine Jean-Pierre.
He's encouraged by what we're seeing on the Hill. You know, this is the first time in a very long time that we have seen this type of bipartisanship.
We now know the motivation for yesterday's shootings at a Tulsa medical office. Police say the gunman blamed the surgeon who operated on him for his post-surgery back pain, killing him and 3 others just 2 hours after he bought an assault weapon. Chief Wendell Franklin.
We have found a letter on the suspect which made it clear that he came in with the intent to kill Dr. Phillips. and anyone who got in his way.
In Uvalde, Texas, as kids and others were calling 911 about the gunman in the classrooms there, the information never got to the on-scene commander, Texas State Senator Roland Gutierrez.
911 calls were being received by a different entity. I felt that was important enough to know here, not because I want to blame that entity. There was error at every level.
Hundreds of thousands of people have been around Buckingham Palace all day celebrating 70 years for the Queen.
I'm Vicky Barker in London. Cheers from the crowd as the Queen, a tiny figure in bright blue, appeared on the balcony with 3 generations of British royals, son and heir Prince Charles, Prince William with Kate, and their 3 children, future King George and siblings Charlotte and Louis. The monarchy's present and its future waving to an adoring crowd.
She'll take a break tomorrow after some discomfort today. COVID vaccines for kids could happen soon. Here's CBS's Steve Dorsey.
White House Coronavirus Response Coordinator Dr. Ashish Jha says he anticipates vaccinations for children under 5 to begin after FDA advisory committee meetings later this month.
We expect that vaccinations will begin in earnest as early as Tuesday, June 21st.
Jha says states can begin ordering the vaccines Friday with an initial supply of 10 million doses available.
The latest in 3D printing, you could say we're all ears.
1,500 babies are born each year with a condition called microtia, where 1 or more ears are underdeveloped. Now the company 3D Biotherapeutics has developed what it calls a breakthrough replacement.
We believe this is the first time that a company has printed a whole living engineered construct.
Daniel Cohen is the CEO. The method uses actual living tissue from the patient and 3D printing to create the replacement. Clinical trials are currently taking place. Steve Futterman, CBS News.
This is CBS News.
There's always something new under the sun. CBS Mornings, weekdays on CBS. WDEV is positively thrilled to take part in this year's Central Vermont Humane Society's Walk for the Animals. Join other humans and their furry friends Saturday, June 11th at 9:30 on the State House lawn. From there, we'll parade through Montpelier. Prizes will be awarded for Best Doggy Costume and Best Doggy Trick. Media support for the Walk for the Animals is brought to you in part by Curtis Lumber. There's a Curtis Lumber near you. Find out where at curtislumber.com. Ladder One Grill. Steaks, burgers, brick oven pizzas, calzones, pasta, seafood, and more in downtown Barrie. And VDM Law. Vermont attorneys serving the community since 1977. The Central Vermont Humane Society's Walk for the Animals, Saturday, June 11th at 9:30 on the State House lawn. See you there.
WDEV, Vermont's news station, is your source for up-to-the-minute news at the top and bottom of the hour.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
Special events.
Hi, fellow Vermonters. Good evening. I'm honored to speak with you tonight, to have earned your trust through challenging times, and to serve as governor of the state I love.
And breaking news.
Good afternoon, Lee Cattell in the Radio Vermont newsroom.
Vermont's news station, WDEV AM and FM, and streaming at WDEVradio.com.
The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in. Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Full show tonight all the way up until 7 o'clock. Then it's a 1-hour Jazz with George Thomas, and then the NBA Finals. We'll have our coverage beginning at 8 o'clock between the Celtics and the Warriors. You'll hear from Eric Snow, the former NBA point guard, is going to be with us at 6:30. Went to the Finals 3 times with 3 different organizations in his career. We just spoke with Buster Olney. You heard part of my taped interview with Buster. And one final note on baseball for the day. Unnamed texter says, the one guy that reminds me of Matt Barnes more than anyone would be Daniel Bard. And that's probably a good comparison. Now, in full disclosure, Daniel Bard predates me being a Red Sox fan and working in the marketplace. So I don't really remember Daniel Bard. You know, I remember Daniel Bard, but I don't remember all of his outings or his complete story. Looking at the numbers, Daniel Bard was very good for his first 3 years numbers-wise. You're right. 2012, off a cliff, right? 6.2 ERA. The thing I would argue and the thing I would want to know about Daniel Bard is how much of that was because of a transition to a starter. Now, he started 10 games in 2012. He's never started any game at any other point for his career, but 10 games in 2012 he started. I wonder how much of an issue that caused for him. Now, he had 43 walks in 51 innings that year. He had 38 strikeouts, so more walks than strikeouts, an ERA of 6.2. So like Barnes, he's become incredibly hittable and also has been increasingly less able to put people away. So I do think there is a real similarity there between Barnes and Bard. I just, don't remember it vividly enough to tell you that it's 100% on. But looking at the numbers, it feels comparable, although Bard, I do wonder how much was attributed to him being a starter. And remember, the Red Sox tried to do that in that year. Okay, full show podcast is available always, as are all of our interviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That is the Brady Farkas Show podcast. Let's get back in to the NBA Finals. The biggest worry that I have in terms of on-court, the biggest on-court worry that I have in general is Robert Williams for the Celtics. One, is he healthy? And two, assuming he is healthy, do the Warriors find a way to essentially render him useless and get him off the floor entirely? That's one of my biggest fears. I am nervous about Robert Williams' ability to make an impact in this series. He is vital to what the Celtics do defensively. He's long, he can rebound, he can block some shots, he can alter others. He's hugely important to what the Celtics do. But I worry about the Warriors' ability to isolate him and get him in situations that are tough for him. Listen to Ime Udoka, Celtics head coach. He was talking yesterday about how his team defense stacks up with the Warriors' offense.
Well, we do have a size and versatility on the wings, and I think with who we are defensively against a really good offensive team, the benefit is having, obviously, Marcus and Jason, Jalen on the perimeter, but as well, you have bigs that they can't just pick on, Al, Rob, Grant, and everybody else, that we do use. It's a kind of a perfect storm as far as the matchup with all the offensive talent they have.
So he says that his bigs can't be picked on. He thinks that his bigs can handle being out there on the perimeter. And maybe it will end up working that way, but I am very nervous about pick and rolls where the Warriors kill two birds with one stone. I want you to picture this scenario in your head. Marcus Smart is defending Steph Curry. Picture this. Marcus Smart is defending Steph Curry. The Warriors run a pick and roll, and they force the Celtics to switch. So now you've got Marcus Smart not on Steph Curry, so that's a problem. And then you've got Robert Williams now on Steph Curry. And this situation worries me because what is going to happen now? If Robert Williams in that situation comes out and is essentially one-on-one with Steph Curry on the perimeter, the whole lane is now exposed. Steph can take one or two dribbles by Williams and either get to the hoop or kick it out because the rim protector is no longer there. That would be a problem for the Celtics. Or two, Robert Williams says, look, I'm not going to come out. And now Steph Curry is just simply left with a wide open jump shot. That obviously is a huge problem as well. That is one of my biggest worries in this series, that Robert Williams, a guy who is vital to what the Celtics do, ends up being useless because the Warriors find a way to isolate him and find a way to expose him. If you can't use Robert Williams, your defense it's not bad, but it's not the top defense in the league. Williams' ability to block shots and alter shots is a huge part of what the Celtics do. And if the Warriors just attack him and make him make that choice, that's going to be bad news for the C's. For what it's worth, We had Freddie Coleman on yesterday from ESPN Radio. I asked him essentially about this scenario.
Oh, he won't be used as ineffective because when you have a rim protector, those kind of guys still matter. But here's the deal. You're going to see a lot of sets they try to draw him away from the basket. So does he get in drop coverage and stay in the lane? That allows an easier shot, a pull-up shot, whether it's Klay Thompson, a screen and roll, Steph Curry, maybe even Andrew Wiggins. And if he comes up, is he quick enough to keep those guys from getting to the rim where his length can really be a problem?
Yeah, that is basically what I said. Now, Freddie didn't make it sound as bad as I have done, but he basically said the same thing. If Robert Williams drops in coverage, guys have more open looks. Huge problem against a team that can shoot like this, right? If you drop on Giannis, not as big a deal. You want him to take that shot. You can't drop on Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. You can't drop on Jordan Poole. Maybe you can drop on Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins, but you can't drop on Steph, Klay, and Poole. You just can't. So if he does come out, well, then the lane is exposed and guys are going to the bucket easier. That's all part of the cat and mouse game of a 7-game playoff series. I hope that Robert Williams can be effective, but I fear the Warriors dictate pace and tempo, and we see their small ball lineup cause problems for the Celtics. And now Al Horford is forced into huge minutes, and the bench has to shrink even further. If Williams is ineffective, well, now the bench is shrunk even further, and that all worries me. Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026. Mac over in Williamstown. Brady, along that line, do you think we could see Daniel Tyson this series? Yeah, I think it's possible, right? Just because there's not always carryover in an NBA series. Just because a guy isn't useful in one series doesn't mean he won't be useful in another. I think it's possible you see Tice. He has the ability to play on the perimeter a little bit more than Williams does, obviously. So if Williams is off the floor, then Tice could be of use. How much? I don't know, but he could be of use. And I think it's something that we should watch and wait to see how it develops, because just because he didn't play, I think Grant Williams is going to be a huge part of this, right? A small or big. He's going to be a big part of this. The Celtics got to find a way to, get those pick and rolls to happen with him rather than with Rob Williams if they can. It's all part of the cat and mouse game. Colin Cowherd of Fox Sports Radio, he was on today, and he discussed his biggest worry for the Celtics.
My number one concern for Boston, and I think they could win it, they were second in the league in blowout wins this year, I think, to Phoenix, is that they lose leads and lose games when they outplay people. So when Golden State outshoots you and outplays you, they bury you.
So Colin says he worries about the Celtics' ability to hold a lead and to finish. I mean, okay, my real answer is, yeah, it's a concern. The Celtics have a hard time closing teams out. That's true. It's been a problem all year. It's been a problem for multiple years. But if the Celtics are capable of getting up 18 or 20 on this team, I'll take my chances with that problem than any other problem they may have. If you're telling me the biggest worry for the Celtics is how are they going to hold on to an 18-point lead in this series, then I'll sign up for that. I'll take that problem over Marcus Smart's ankle and Robert Williams' knee and Williams not being able to defend. I'll take this problem over any of those problems. Colin's right, but that is so far down my list of things that would worry me. Madison in Berry City. Brady, did you hear what Grant Williams said? He said something like his team was built to beat the Warriors. Do you think he should have said that? Well, Madison, let me go click it around here in the background, because we actually have, I believe, the clip that you're referring to. Do we have it, guys? Okay, we do. Here's what Grant Williams had to say. That's kind of what Madison's talking about.
Yeah, they're unlike any other team. We've been through a team of great isolation players. We've been through a team that has a dominant man that can then play any position and guard any position. And then we played a team that is the most physical and grueling, versus this team, I feel like, has that physical nature, but they're a lot more able to make shots, or a lot more movement, a lot more chasing. And I feel like our team's built for that. We're built for not only that, but also the physical nature.
I am usually the first guy to step up and say you shouldn't give bulletin board material. I'm always that guy, right? Like J.C. Jackson's calling out Keenan Allen for the Patriots last year. I'm the first guy to tell J.C. to stop talking. Like, I'm always that guy. But I don't think what Grant Williams just said there was bad in any way. I have no problem with what Grant Williams just said, Madison. He complimented the Warriors at every turn. He said they're unlike any other team.
Yeah, they're unlike any other team.
Okay, they're unlike any other team. He said the Warriors can do multiple things. He said they're physical. He said they can hit shots. He said they have a lot of movement. That's all complimentary. All he said was at the very end,
more chasing. And I feel like our team's built for that. We're built for not only that, but also the physical natures.
Our team is built to play a team that plays this way. He did not say, hey, we match up well. He didn't say we could stop them. He didn't guarantee anything. I think he's just kind of giving a fair analysis of how his team is built and the personnel that they have. I don't think there's anything malicious in that. Trust me, if the Celtics were giving bulletin board material, I would be all over them. I don't think that's bulletin board material. Like, I know when a guy is throwing shade and when a guy is making promises that they shouldn't be making. Grant Williams isn't doing that. All he said is that that his team, the personnel is capable of playing a team that plays like this. Didn't say it's going to work. Didn't say they're going to win. Didn't say they're ready for it. Didn't say the Warriors aren't that good. I just think he gave a fair analysis. So, no, Madison, I don't have a problem with it. Jim in Virgins. Well, okay, let's see here. Jim says he sends 2 texts, the second of which says, love your show. So happy you could bring a legit sports show to Vermont. Thank you very much, Jim. I appreciate you listening. Well, the first text, though, says, Brady, you are completely wrong. Without Robert Williams, there is no ring this year. He is the big man we've been missing for years. Jim, when you say I'm completely wrong, I feel like I kind of said that, right? Like, my biggest fear is that the Warriors are able to play Robert Williams off the floor. That's my biggest fear. And because I know how important Robert Williams is. You're telling me they can't win a ring without Robert Williams. I'm agreeing with you. I didn't say it would be good if Robert Williams can't play in this series. My fear is that the Warriors isolate Robert Williams and pick on him to the point that he's not able to function in this series. And that would be disastrous for the Celtics. I hope the Celtics can counter that. I hope that Williams can prove effective, and I hope that I am wrong. But I think we're saying the same thing here. So when you say I'm completely wrong, I'm not quite sure what I'm completely wrong about. You think Robert Williams is important. I think Robert Williams is important. I wouldn't list it as my number one concern if I didn't think that he's important. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Former NBA point guard Eric Snow is going to stop by in about 10 to 15 minutes. I look forward to talking with him. But right now, we do it every single day.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. What did he say?
Mac Jones? Good Lord. Mel Kiper's got to slow down on this. Mac Jones ain't going to work, folks. It's not going to work. He's got to come to terms with it. It's not going to work.
They really said that?
Every damn thing is politics and race, and I'm losing my mind over it.
It's time for Who's Saying What on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Who's Saying What is brought to you by Vermont Laser Wash. Vermont Laser Wash is Central Vermont's home of unlimited car washes. It begins at just $20 a month. Unlimited car wash is $20 a month. If you want just one free car wash, just text the word Vermont to the number 30 and then 400. Obviously, look, it's the NBA Finals. Both teams are incredibly motivated coming into this series. That goes without saying. But which team is more motivated? I heard something very interesting from former NBA big man and friend of our show, Ryan Hollins, this week on Fox Sports 1. Listen to this.
This is going to be their sweetest championship yet. It's not the first one where they were kind of too young. It's not the second go around with KD. This is going to be their sweetest championship yet. They've built culture. They've rebuilt. They've introduced new characters into the party, into the mix.
Their star left them.
And this is one that you look back. This is like Kobe Bryant. When Kobe Bryant did it without Shaq, with Gasol and Bynum and those boys, that cemented Kobe as Kobe. And now those guys have motivation that I don't think Boston has. When we talked about what's their motive, they haven't been there before. This is the furthest they've been. I don't want to just say they're happy to be there, but they don't understand the moment like Golden State understands it.
So Holland says the Celtics cannot match the Warriors' motivation level. I asked Freddie Coleman yesterday about that, and very quickly he said this.
I'm with him on that one, mainly because Golden State's playing for history.
So Holland says no one can match the Warriors' motivation. Freddie agrees with them. Look, I'm not here to knock the Warriors' motivation. Of course they're motivated. It's the freaking finals. They're going for history. They're going for their big three to win again. They've been through all the injuries. They can win it without Durant. It all feeds it. I get the storylines. But if you think the Celtics are lacking motivation, or you think they are just some kind of, we're just happy to be here, aw shucks team, then you've got another thing coming. The Celtics have been through a lot in order to get here tonight. This isn't some Cinderella out of nowhere Cincinnati Bengals story. This is a team that has been through lots of heartbreak, and those scars are deep and they are real, and this is the opportunity that they've endured all of that for. They are incredibly motivated. This young core of Celtics players, Smart, Tatum, Brown, lost in the Eastern Conference Finals twice when they were young. When you're young, you just always think you're going to be there. But then as you get older, you realize that you're not. They miss the finals. They endure COVID. They go to the bubble. They all get injuries along the way. I think this core has a real appreciation and a real understanding that these opportunities, they don't just happen. They're not just given to you, and they're not just guaranteed. They've failed in the Eastern Conference Finals 3 times before they won it. They've seen injuries and how they can derail a season, whether it be to Isaiah Thomas or Kyrie Irving or Kemba Walker or to themselves. I think these guys get it. I think these guys do appreciate the moment. So for Ryan Hollins and anybody else to say, they don't get the moment like Golden State does, I am not buying that. Al Horford's played in 140 playoff games, never played in a finals game. I think he gets it. I think he's got a reason to come out motivated in this game and in this series. Look, the Celtics' motivation, it doesn't mean they're going to win this series, but to sit here and treat them like they're some Cinderella 10 seed making a run in the NCAA tournament and they're just happy with whatever is coming to them, I don't believe that. I don't buy that Marcus Smart, who has given up his body for 8 years now and lost in 3 conference finals, is taking this for granted. I don't think Tatum or Brown, who have seen firsthand how difficult it is to get here, I don't think they're taking it for granted. I am surprised at both Ryan Hollins and our guy Freddie Coleman. I think the Celtics come out here with a massive appreciation of what it took to get here. The Warriors have a massive appreciation of what it took to get back here, no doubt. But the Celtics are not some team that just kind of lucked their way into this. They've worked hard at it for 5, 6, 7, 8 years in Marcus Smart's case, 15 years in Al Horford's case. I think these guys get what they're stepping onto the court tonight at the Chase Center I guess it's San Francisco now. It used to be Oakland. Now it's San Francisco. I just can't wait to tip the ball off tonight. And I'm so jacked up that we have the game here on WDEV because, we don't air Celtics games usually, but we were able to get game 1 of the NBA Finals. And we might be doing more games in this series. I'm jacked up that we have it. You know what's hard as a Celtics fan? Really? You know what's hard as a Celtics fan in this series? It's really hard to hate the Warriors. It's really hard to hate the Warriors. Like, on almost every team, you can point to a reason why you hate the other team, either a certain player, a certain coach, or the fan base. That you don't have that with the Warriors. Like, Draymond Green used to be easy to hate, but he's actually been pretty tame for the last few years. He's doing some media stuff. He's in podcasting now. Like, Draymond's created some likability for himself. Curry, Thompson, very likable players with good stories. Andrew Wiggins is very quiet. We don't hear a lot from him. Everybody hated he wasn't vaccinated at the beginning of the year. Then he got vaccinated, and that storyline went away. Steve Kerr's fairly likable. It's just hard to hate the Warriors. It is just hard to hate the Warriors. I'll try to find a way over the course of the next 7 games, the next 2.5 weeks, but I don't know that I'm going to find it. It's a team that is certainly likable. And finally, I also love that this matchup is a matchup of teams that were built what we think is the, quote, right way. The Celtics and the Warriors are teams that were built largely through the draft and through player development portals. I love that. Like, this is the way we want all teams to be built, drafting and player development. I don't mind a big 3, but I love when that big 3 comes from within. That's what everybody should want their teams to be. If you're not a fan of just buying titles, if you're not a fan of players just calling their shots and getting traded all around the league, then this series is for you. Steph, Clay, Draymond, all drafted and developed Warriors. Jordan Poole, developed Warrior. For the Celtics, Tatum, Brown, developed Warriors. Pritchard, Celtic rather. Pritchard, developed Celtic. Tice, I'm not sure, I don't even remember if he was drafted, but nonetheless, been with the Celtics for a while. Robert Williams, developed Celtic. And then the other guys, Al Horford, Derek White, like, you're allowed to draw from the outside, but they didn't bring in Kevin Durant here. These two teams are built in a way that we like teams to be built. And I think it's going to be very cool to watch that manifest itself on national television. Everybody's looking for which free agents can they pair together. Well, the best way is always going to be doing it on your own. It's harder to do it that way, but it is always going to be the best way. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Game 1, NBA Finals, coming up 8 o'clock with our coverage, just after 9 with the tip-off. What are the emotions going to be like when the Celtics step on the floor for the first time in the finals? We'll talk to a guy who played in 3 NBA Finals. Former NBA point guard Eric Snow. He's going to stop by with us next on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV.
It's a soil-abration event hosted by Casella at Grow Compost. You're invited to this open house Saturday from 8 until 1 at the Grow Compost facility between Waterbury and Middlesex. Bring residential food scraps, purchase compost, and see how it's made. Casella will donate $1,000 to the Waterbury Food Shelf and $500 to the Vermont Food Bank. It's a free family event with snacks, face painting, lawn games, and door prizes. Find out more at casella.com/grow. It's a soil-abration event Saturday from 8 till 1 at Grow Compost, Route 2 east of Waterbury.
People here are raving about QC Kinetics and how regenerative medicine has changed their life. People like Helen, an avid mountain climber who got sidelined when an accident left her knees in constant pain.
I was not able to train or do really anything on my knee.
Helen was told surgery would be her only option. But then she found QC Kinetics and was treated with natural biologics designed to repair and restore tissue in her knees. 3 months later, she was climbing the highest mountain in North America.
I got a very quick resolution to my pain. I began treatment in March, and I summited Denali June the 7th. It was super successful, and I recommend everyone seek out QC Kinetics as an alternative to surgery.
Get your life back with lasting results. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Call QC Kinetics today.
Call QC Kinetics, 802-PAINLESS. That's 802-PAINLESS. QC Kinetics, 802-PAINLESS. That's 802-PAINLESS. Treatments are not yet FDA approved.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Vermont Army National Guard. Aired by the Vermont Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shelley Place with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Kids are full of energy, but keeping them active in their teen years can be a challenge. Aim for an hour of physical activity every day. If they like sports, that's a great place to start. Keep the focus on fun, not winning, and encourage your child to do a variety of activities. If your child isn't meeting that 60-minute goal, gradually increase their activity in ways they enjoy. For more, talk with your pediatrician or visit healthychildren.org.
In decades past, you opened a business, hung out your shingle, and the customers came. Today, hanging out your shingle means creating an engaging website. The modern consumer is using the internet to find businesses like yours. Are you positioned so you'll rise to the top of their search? Let the Radio Vermont Group Digital Services work with you to make sure you're visible online and to target your marketing to location, demographic, and interest. Learn more at rvgdigital.com.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show here on this Thursday on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. The countdown continues to NBA Finals Game 1. We're going to have it for you in a little over an hour from now, where our coverage begins just after 8 o'clock. Celtics taking on the Warriors, and joining us now, a guy who knows a thing or two about the NBA Finals. He was a part of 3 teams that went to NBA Finals, played in 3 of them himself. It's longtime NBA point guard and a guy who's done some coaching as well, Eric Snow. Eric, thanks for being with us. How are you?
No, thank you very much. I'm doing terrific. How about yourself?
I'm doing well as well. And I don't know if what I'm about to tell you is corny or complimentary, but I cannot tell you how many times in the driveway I was pretending to be Eric Snow, Aaron McKee, Theo Ratliff, Allen Iverson. Nice. Your Sixers teams, man, they, especially the one that got to the finals, they were a cultural phenomenon. Did you realize that at the moment?
Yeah, I kind of noticed it as I get older. People telling me, they kind of tell me their age when they kind of tell me stories about it and how they remember it. But also, shows how dynamic a guy like Allen Iverson was. We have, let's be honest, that most of our viewership and fans were because of him. And I think that our team, the way we played, kind of brought in some fans and brought enthusiasm, especially in the Philadelphia area. But it was a good time. I really I'm thankful for that time.
As we get ready for the Celtics tonight, the Warriors have a ton of finals experience and a title pedigree. The Celtics have no finals experience, although a lot of big game experience. What are the emotions like when you take the floor for the first time in your first finals?
It's a great deal of enthusiasm. I think that you do calm and you do get to a point where you calm down and everything's settled. I think for Golden State's top 3 guys, that settling moment has already happened. That's what the experience kind of brings for those guys. But you still have some anxious energy, even, for guys that's been there. Boston is different because, they just have so many new and fresh guys. But I don't want to get it confused because, Golden State's had a great deal of success. But they still have some other key guys on their team that is fresh for them too. So a lot of those guys are going through, Wiggins, Looney, and Poole. Those guys playing major minutes and having a major contribution and still feeling the same thing that Boston's feeling.
Let me ask you kind of the same question, but from 2 different vantage points here. This Celtics team has been through the ringer the last couple of years, right? And especially the Kyrie Irving, the Kyrie Irving years kind of stunted the growth of their young players. When you are a veteran on a young team, how do you balance letting young players grow versus not letting them have full control of the room?
Well, I mean, I think that for the most part, the teams that I've played on, you didn't really have – I didn't have younger guys that really were maybe the right word is not necessarily mature enough, but kind of mature and the experience and the talent to kind of command the room. The guy that was like that I played with was LeBron James.
Yeah.
And it was because of, his talent, but it was also his maturity beyond years than his actual age and his approach to the game. He put in the work. So I think it is possible when you can have a young guy to do it, but it's kind of other things have to fall in place. It can't just be because he's talented. He has to command the respect from other players and be able to give it, set the example for leadership. And if guys can do that, even if at a young age, I don't think the age really matters if they're doing those things that's needed for a team to be successful.
And how about I got to give a lot of credit to a guy like Al Horford. He was part of the Celtics team before. He knows the problems, the pitfalls that they went through. He comes back now. And it seems like, he's really just tried to add to the culture and add to the dynamic and not try to change things. When you are a true veteran in the league, how do you just kind of massage the locker room to keep it strong or make it stronger?
Well, I mean, I think it's his approach more than anything else. He's professional. He comes, he plays hard, he does his job. So when you do those things, you're setting an example for the team. You set an example for the coaching staff to use, a model to use. So it's a model for success. So that's kind of where he helps. And then the things that he does on the court has been tremendous for the Celtics. So when guys see his approach and they see how he is off the court, and then all of a sudden you get on the court and you see that amount of success and you see how much the contributions help the team, it's easy for guys to draw from that and try to emulate what he's doing out there on the court because of the success that comes with it.
Former NBA point guard Eric Snow played in 3 NBA finals. He's here with us in the Brady Farkas Show. We're counting down to Game 1. Celtics Warriors tonight. We'll have the coverage for you. Tip-off is just after 9 o'clock. What do you think the best way for the Celtics defense to attack Golden State is? We've heard a lot of talk about you got to get physical with them, but then we've heard the Warriors can handle physicality. What would you do style-wise if you're the C's?
Man, I think that, obviously I think, the number one thing is to try to somewhat slow down or average out Steph and Curry.
Yeah.
I think, obviously that's going to be a job that Marcus Smart's going to have to do. But not just Marcus Smart. I think it's the game plan that Ime is going to come up with, or the guy's going to be able to attack it and stay with it enough to, if it's not working, to be able to make an adjustment. The old saying in defense is you're as strong as your weakest link. So making sure that all the guys that are on the court are well equipped and well ready to execute whatever defensive game plan you have. If Steph Curry's setting on a screen, if he's receiving a screen, if he's coming off pick and roll to the right, pick and roll to the left, whatever adjustments, whatever plan that you make, try to execute it to the best of your ability to see if it's working, to see if we need to make an adjustment and see how they're attacking it. So I think that being really in tune to what you want to do to be able to go forward and make the adjustments has to be done. So I think that, yes, you want to be physical, but you got to be physical without fouling. But at the same time, you just can't give them the easy baskets, the clean shots, and letting them get to the free throw line. That's where they really hurt you.
I am very fearful of Robert Williams not having an impact in this series. One is his health, but two, just from an on-court standpoint, I really fear a lot of pick and rolls and the Warriors guards trying to get Williams out away from the paint, away from the basket, and into some adverse matchups. You as a point guard, what do you do to isolate a matchup that may be in your favor? How do you attack it?
Well, I mean, nowadays, teams switch a lot. So it just really depends on what they're doing defensively. Most times, if you want to isolate this particular player, they switch a lot. But as you've seen with the Golden State with the Mavericks, they avoided, Steph and Poole and those guys defending Luka.
Yeah.
So, it can be done. But I think that Golden State will try to attack matchups. I'm sure that, they'll try to get a big on a small, because most teams do. But it'll be interesting to see how they do that with Olney on the court. So I'll see. We'll see very soon. Boston's going to be able to. What they're going to do if they try to attack them in pick and rolls and try to get them switched. Are they going to just show and contest and not switch? So they may have that. They may switch with Al and Grant Williams, but not Williams. Grant Williams they may switch, but not big fella Williams. Robert, they may not switch with him. So it kind of we have to kind of wait and see how this first game is going to roll out, and there may be adjustments during the game as well.
We've talked about this here in New England all season, but nationally they're catching on to it now. The differences between Brad Stevens and Ime Udoka and their coaching styles, and a lot's being made about Udoka's ability to hold players accountable and kind of how blunt and transparent he is with players. You played for some of the most legendary coaches in the sport's history, George Karl and Larry Brown. How do you like your coach to be kind of attitude-wise? How do you like them to communicate with you to get the best out of you?
I have no problem with, I think when you're a professional, you don't really want, especially an older guy that have, having children and families and you're a grown man, you don't necessarily need a coach, yelling and cursing at you.
Yeah.
But I think what you want is a coach that whatever he can say to Pritchard, he can say to Jason Tatum. That's how I think you can command the locker room. That you treat everyone the same, you respect everyone the same, but you hold Jason Tatum as much accountable as you do Pritchard. When you have coaches that can do that and do that well, they'll have a locker room.
I got to tell you real quick before I let you go here, I showed my age by telling you I was a fan of your Sixers teams. But before that, I actually grew up in Seattle, so I grew up a diehard Sonics fan. And I know you were playing in Seattle, so 95, 96 finals, I was there. So you got to play with Peyton and Kemp, and you got to play with Iverson, you got to play with LeBron. Who was the biggest personality that you played with?
The biggest personality? Woo!
Because you played with a bunch.
The biggest personality, probably Gary Payton.
Yeah,
probably Gary Payton.
And we're going to see his son hopefully in this series. Looks like he's healthy enough to be out there.
The biggest personality. It was one of a kind.
Did you think after you won games 4 and 5 in 95, 96, did you think you were going to beat the Bulls in that finals? The momentum was with you.
I mean, we thought we were. We knew it was an uphill battle, going back to Chicago and needing to win 2 games. But, we felt we were until we didn't.
Well, I love that team, too. I've loved multiple Eric Snow teams here. So, Eric, man, we appreciated this. Was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
There goes Eric Snow, former NBA point guard. 3 finals appearances with 3 different teams. Seattle in his early portion of his career, he didn't play much. Philly when he was a huge part of it in the starting lineup. And then Cleveland. Remember that LeBron finals against – oh, man. When did the Cavs play in the finals? All I can think of is LeBron hitting a jump shot, like a half quarter against Orlando in the playoffs. That was it. I think of him scoring 26 straight points against Detroit. That's not it. Someone help me. 802-585-3026. Who did the Cavs play in the NBA finals with LeBron? With LeBron early. Let me see. Okay. Now I got to look it up. So who we got here? They got to the finals in, this was like 07, 08 here. Spurs. There you go. Swept by the Spurs. It was a sweep. That's why I don't remember. But Eric Snow was on that team. And I really did enjoy watching Eric Snow play. He was a really good point guard, defensive minded. Snow's doing a podcast now, by the way. He's doing some good stuff there. You should check out his podcast over with the Believe Podcast Network. So a lot of cool stuff there that Eric Snow is doing. Really enjoyed speaking with him. So you know what we'll do is we'll step aside. When we come back, Eric Snow said something very interesting about the Celtics heading into tonight's Game 1 that I want to get to. We'll tell you what Snow said. Freddie Coleman actually said something very similar yesterday. We'll continue the countdown towards Celtics Warriors Game 1 of the NBA Finals. It's next on DEV.
The Northfield Country Club is in full swing. Hi, I'm Brendan Earls, PGA member and Director of Golf Operations here at the Northfield Country Club, and I'm happy to let you know the course is in pristine condition. Book your tee time today and play 9 holes for under $20 at one of the top-rated 9-hole courses in New England. I'm here at the club daily to answer any of your questions, from course conditions, instruction, or club fittings to merchandise in the clubhouse. Reservations can be made on our website, by phone, or by visiting the pro shop. Northfield Country Club, it's one of a kind.
When we need support, Vermonters know we can count on community. And when Vermont's community service providers need support, they count on the Vermont Community Loan Fund. For 35 years, VCLF has specialized in lending to community facilities and nonprofit service providers, including rural health centers, assisted living facilities, early care and learning programs, arts and cultural organizations, and even a historic general store or two. VCLF's flexible financing helps them do what they do best, guaranteeing access to essential quality of life services for all Vermonters. Vermont nonprofits and community facilities can count on the Vermont Community Loan Fund, so you can count on them. Isn't that what community is all about? Find out what the nonprofit lending specialists at the Vermont Community Loan Fund can do for your community at investinvermont.org. That's investinvermont.org.
Did you serve in the military? Do you have access to your local Vermont or Western New Hampshire public library? If so, stop by and ask library staff for a free packet from the White River Junction VA containing information on benefits and eligibility. Library Gateways to VA is a project partnering the White River Junction VA with area public libraries. So stop by your local library today and ask for a Library Gateways to VA information folder.
The thought of my sons growing up without me inspired me to quit smoking.
I talked to my doctors, and then I threw away all my cigarettes, ashtrays, and lighters.
I started exercising instead of smoking.
Staying away from alcohol when I was first quitting was key.
I kept on trying, learned something each time.
Do whatever it takes.
No matter how many times it takes.
We did it, so can you.
For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and CDC.
How well does your garden grow? Tune in Saturdays at 12:30 for In the Garden with Peter Burke. Peter and co-host Joel Nashman give you 1 full hour of the latest news, helpful tips, and your calls to talk about what's happening in your garden. It's brought to you in part by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber. SticksandStuff.com. In the Garden with Peter Burke. Live Saturdays at 12:30. Hear the podcast anytime at WDEVradio.com. Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Show brought to you in part by Pro Driver Training. That's Pro Driver Training, Vermont's premier truck driver training school, online at ProDriverCDL.com. Thank you very much to Eric Snow for stopping by. Can you believe that? Play in the league a decade, play with Gary Payton, Allen Iverson at the height of his powers, and LeBron James right at the beginning of his career. That is a hell of a thing to tell your grandkids about. And Eric Snow was not some stiff. Eric Snow was a starter on a team that went to the NBA Finals. Like, he was the starting point guard. Allen Iverson was the biggest name. Eric Snow was the starting point guard. But you play with Peyton, LeBron, and Iverson at the height of his powers, and you play with LeBron at peak early LeBron hype and go to the finals there. That is pretty unreal stuff. Like, that is pretty amazing. And Eric Snow was a good player. That Sixers team that went to the finals was a cultural phenomenon. I mean, and he's right. Iverson was the reason. But Eric Snow, Dikembe Mutombo, Theo Ratliff, Matt Geiger, I think. Like, maybe even Tony Kukoc. Like, the fact that I can name all these players from, like, the 01 Sixers is a testament to how powerful they were. That team was a wagon, as they say. Like, you just wanted to jump on the bandwagon. And I have said this forever, that Allen Iverson was an innovator and was a trendsetter. Not everybody liked it. The baggy clothes, the off-court apparel. Not everybody loved Iverson. But he was absolutely one of the most influential players of the last 25 years. 100%. He had the game to back it up. He had the personality. He had this kind of street ball, raw mentality. He inspired a lot of guys. And a lot of kids loved basketball because of Allen Iverson. And Eric Snow was right there and had the proximity to it. So I loved talking to him. We didn't have time in the commercial break to get the exact clip that Eric Snow said, but Freddie Coleman said it yesterday to us as well. So we're going to play Freddie from yesterday. We talked about the idea of the Celtics being physical and how they should play defense.
You can be as physical with Golden State as you want to, but that doesn't mean you'll be able to knock them off their game, because let's say you're physical, Brady, but you're putting fouls in your teams and you put Golden State in the free throw line. Do you really want Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins on the free throw line and getting those kind of numbers offensively?
So that's the gist of it. The phrase that Eric used is physical without fouling. If you are the Celtics, that is another thing that you have to be nervous about. Can you be physical without fouling? That's really hard to do. How do you make life tough for this Golden State team without putting them at the line? You want to send a message. You want to be intense. You know they've got home court. You know the calls are probably going in their favor. So you want to be physical. You want to be intense. You want to be in their shorts. You want to make life tough. How do you do that without fouling? That's going to be a real big challenge. And the Celtics, that's a bad recipe on any front. If they go to the line, it's free points for the Warriors. The Warriors at the line is free points. If you are the Celtics also, you get in foul trouble. That is a serious test of your depth, and I don't think you have a ton right now. If Marcus Smart gets 2 quick fouls, you're in trouble. If Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum get 2 quick fouls, you're in trouble. Al Horford, 2 quick fouls, you're in trouble. You can't have that. Peyton Pritchard and Derek White can get in foul trouble. Rob Williams, to a slightly lesser degree, can get in foul trouble. Your core 3 cannot get in foul trouble, and I would say Horford's in there too. Your core 4 cannot get in foul trouble. I do not want to see that if I'm the Celtics. Couple other just kind of limited, or a couple other random audio pieces that we have here I want to play real quick. Here's Chris Forsberg of NBC Sports Boston.
I feel like Jalen's had his moments this postseason, but something tells me he's going to be, and I hate to call him the X factor because he's the second best player on your team, but I feel like this could be the Jaylen Brown series, whereas I don't know if we've had that yet, right? Jason's been great. Marcus has been great in stretches. I thought Al Horford last round. Maybe it's time that Jaylen just sort of goes to that next level.
Jaylen Brown's going to have to step up big. I think Grant Williams is going to have to step up big too. This is going to be a team effort, right? I talk about that Sixers series, right, with Eric Snow. The Sixers played the Lakers. Now, this is not as big a disparity as that was, right? I think they had Shaq and Kobe on that Lakers team. So it's not that big a disparity. But Iverson went for 45 in game 1 of that series, and then the Sixers got run out of the gym for the next 4. When you are a one-man band, you cannot win the NBA Finals against a complete team. The Celtics are not going to win this series with Tatum going for 50 and everybody else going for 14. That's not going to work. That is not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen. It can't happen. Jaylen Brown is going to have to be heavily involved here. The Celtics can win. The Celtics can win this series. I picked them to lose, but the Celtics can win this series. Tatum for 26, Brown for 23, Smart for 19, Horford for 17, Rob Williams for 12, Grant Williams for 9, Derek White for 9. They can win. But Jaylen Brown is going to have to be a huge part of it. I think it's going to be hard on Jason Tatum. I think the Warriors are going to make it hard on him. Someone's got to be there to help him out. Smart handling the ball is going to be huge. That's going to be huge. But Jaylen Brown's also got to be there as well. So you cannot afford to have a game. If Tatum has a game where he gets 14, the Celtics are losing. If Brown has a game where he gets 12, they're losing. It's just going to happen. So Everybody's got to be involved. I am so pumped for this game. I am so pumped for this series. I am pumped that we are bringing you game one of the NBA Finals. I've been here now 2 years. This is the first finals that we're doing. Right? And we aired a couple of World Series games a couple of years back, but because of the way these contracts work and everything, it's hard to put these games on the air. I'm pumped that our management was able to make it happen, and I think we're going to put more on. Celtics Warriors, game one tonight. I'm gonna get out of here at 7:15 or so, 7:30, and then it's gonna be a half-hour drive home, and I'm gonna be in my chair ready for the next hour. Like, okay, let's go. Celtics tonight. I think the Warriors win this game. If the Celtics can win one of the two here in Golden State, that is a huge victory. You cannot get down 2-0 if you want to win this series. It's not going to happen because you're not going to beat this team 4 of the next 5. Don't get down 2-0. Split 1-1. I think the Warriors win this game. I think it's a little ugly at first. Then I think we get going. I think the Warriors win this one. I'll say 103-96. 103-96 is my prediction. But, hey, I want to be wrong. I'm actively rooting to be wrong. So if the Celtics win and you want to come in and do ha-ha, I told you so at me, that's fine. I'll take it. I am rooting to be wrong. Thanks to Buster Olney for stopping by earlier today. We played part of that interview on the air. The full interview is available online. And thank you also to Eric Snow for just stopping by, the former NBA point guard. 3 trips he made to the NBA Finals. Jazz with George Thomas is coming up next until 8 o'clock. Then the game. Go find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and our website.
WDEV at 90 is brought to you in part by New England